That's a crazy transition. Most guys are like, yeah, just it was time for me and I got out and I struggled, or, yep, had a plan, got out right away, started working, all is well. But that vaccine mandate was just, it was a shit show to say the least. No question about it. We just talked about Beyond the Brotherhood, but we got a list of things that I want to go through with you. So I want to get into your background. I want to get into your life, your belief systems. And I want to talk about things that you're interested in. But first and foremost, as I always jump into with guys, is transitioning from career. I did 8 years in the service. It was still difficult for me to transition out. But for somebody who actually goes the distance, it can be very cumbersome. And a lot of guys have trouble with it. Talk to us about your transition. What was that like for you getting out?
Well, I'm not you hear the roosters in the background?
For sure.
We got feral chickens all over the place, and usually we'll kill them. Like my son will trap them, and we'll eat them later. But in the meantime, we have to deal with them.
Cool.
So yeah, for my transition, I thought I was going to do 30 years in the teams. I just loved it, and I liked being a warrant officer because I felt like I was no longer underneath the thumb of officers. In fact, they couldn't touch me, and I was going to get promoted anyway. And so I could finally tell them to buzz off when they were talking about doing something stupid. So it was very liberating. But nevertheless, at the 19 and a half year mark, the vaccine mandate came out. And so I had to be prepared to lose it all. And the upper echelons, they were very clear about their intent of getting rid of me as soon as possible.
Wow.
I played my cards pretty well and pretty hard. Right away, I was like, all right, fine, I'll drop 30 days vacation, 30 days leave. And immediately my OIC, because I was down at the training detachment here in Hawaii, my OIC called me and said, hey, what do you need 30 days leave for? I'm like, well, you guys apparently said that I'm more of a liability than I am an asset to you. I'm not getting this vaccine. So I'm just going to take my 30 days leave now, and in case the Navy kicks me out. So I might as well get it while I can. And he was like, well, I kind of need you around. Oh, you need me around because I'm your operations officer and you don't have anybody else. So you need me? Is that what I just heard? And he was like, yeah, you're right. I'll give you as much time as you need to plan everything out. I'm sure you're going to be getting out now, but please don't drop 30 days leave. Okay. So I walked around pretty smug, and I knew that I owned all the cards. They needed me more than I needed them. And I was able to join the vaccine lawsuit. So we got this preliminary injunction, which basically kept us able to serve. The Navy couldn't kick us out. It was decided that what they were doing was completely illegal. And at the same time that the preliminary injunction dropped, meaning everybody in the Navy who submitted for a religious accommodation was now untouchable. That was also the same month that I was due for my command service reenlistment bonus. So I got another 2 years of a bonus, and everybody says you need 2 years to plan your transition. So I was able to take those next 2 years and plan all of that out. Like I knew without the shadow of a doubt that I was no longer going to stay in the Navy. So I went to those clinics for, TBI, took as many schools as I possibly could, went and took as many like NKO classes that I possibly could to kind of like try to polish up that resume. I did the Honor Foundation, so that introduces guys like, okay, what is LinkedIn? You feel gross getting a LinkedIn account and saying, Navy SEAL. Like, I'm not even putting that on there. So I changed my LinkedIn profile until after I got out, but at least I knew what LinkedIn was and how to write a resume and how to translate. Okay, you were an urban warfare instructor for 3 years. Well, that doesn't translate in a resume. So how do you translate it? You were a strategic consultant for a cross-functional team, right? And you're putting on scenarios and you're giving them feedback. And so how to spell that out in corporate speak, that was a huge help. So I got my mind kind of wrapped around this for a good 2 years before I finally punched out. And one of the other programs I took advantage of was the Navy has something called SkillBridge, and Special Operations Command, they have something very similar called a fellowship program, in which while you're still getting paid as active duty, you can do up to 6 months working for a civilian company, learning the ropes, learning what it's like for them. And you're kind of like an intern, but you're still getting your Navy paycheck. And then at the end of that internship, maybe you get a job offer, maybe not, but at least you got some experience and some awareness underneath your belt. So I did mine with Beyond the Brotherhood. Beyond the Brotherhood was a nonprofit started by a good friend named Jimmy May, one of the commanders who didn't make commanding officer. And he was like, you can just do the fellowship under our umbrella. You'll work for us. You'll understand what a nonprofit works like. You'll come out to some of the events. You'll get to know a lot of successful business people that have, cracked the code of the matrix of American capitalism. That'll increase your network. And at the end of that 4 months that I did with Beyond the Brotherhood, he was like, I think you should really look at doing a quasi internship underneath our umbrella with Pray.com. Pray.com is an app on your phone. It's a digital tech company, and they're running about 55 employees. I was the operations officer for 55-person command over at Training Detachment in Hawaii. And so Pray.com linked me up with their ops guy, and I could see ops to ops. What does that look like? What are the similarities? What are the differences? And there's a whole lot of similarities. And it gave me that confidence. Like, if I wanted to go out and go into corporate life and I get myself an ops job, that I would excel. Like, the team guys would just kind of like fit in. Give me a couple of weeks to get caught up to speed on what the business model looks like. And ops to ops, it's usually like people problems and communication issues. So that's kind of how I finished my transition.
Wow. That's a crazy transition. Most guys are like, yeah, it was time for me and I got out and I struggled, or, yep, had a plan, got out right away, started working, all is well. But that vaccine mandate was just, it was a shit show, to say the least. No question about it.